The state superintendent announces a new Office of Religious Liberty and Patriotism. State Republican senators elect the next Senate pro tem, and the Oklahoma Supreme Court is weighing questions about its authority over the state's Corporation Commission. We'll have details coming up on the KGOU AM News Brief for Wednesday, November 13th. I'm Nick Daniels. State Superintendent Ryan Walters is continuing his efforts to align Oklahoma's education policies with those of the incoming Trump administration. Our own Logan Layden reports on the creation of the Office of Religious Liberty and Patriotism.
A press release from Walters says the new office within the State Department of Education is in line with the top education priority of President-elect Trump, freedom to pray, and will ensure parents, teachers, and students can practice their religion and display their patriotism freely. It will also oversee investigations when pushback inevitably comes over allowing the open practice of religion in public schools. Walters says, quote, "The radical left never misses a chance to co-opt the teacher unions and their minions to indoctrinate our children against traditional values of faith and family, and that declining academic outcomes in Oklahoma's public schools are directly linked to the dismantling of those values." He says guidance will be issued in the coming days to ensure the right to pray in schools is safeguarded. In Oklahoma City, I'm Logan Layden.
You can read more about this story at kgou.org. The state Supreme Court is weighing questions about its authority over Oklahoma Corporation commissioners. They heard oral arguments in a case 3 lawmakers brought against Commissioner Todd Hyatt after allegations that he groped a man who represents one of Oklahoma's public utilities. Grayson Wheeler was at the meeting.
The legislators want the Supreme Court to disqualify Hyatt from at least 3 cases involving utilities with ties to victims or witnesses of the alleged inappropriate behavior. Attorney Joe White is representing Hyatt. He says this suit is not the way to hold him accountable.
These House members have the authority, not you. They have the authority to bring articles of impeachment and go through the process.
Attorney Stephen Jones represents the lawmakers. He says impeachment isn't the answer.
The consequence of doing nothing and saying, well, we don't have any remedy, is in effect, with respect, sanctioning a great abuse and compromises decisions that the Corporation Commission has.
The Supreme Court will consider these arguments and decide whether to disqualify Hyatt and if they even can. In Oklahoma City, I'm Grayson Wheeler.
Oklahoma Republican senators have reaffirmed Lonnie Paxton as their leader. State Capitol reporter Lionel Ramos reports Paxton won a close internal vote Tuesday to be the next Senate pro tem.
Paxton is a Republican from Tuttle, first elected in 2016. As a fiscal conservative, he represents a continuation of the Senate's leadership status quo. The nonprofit newsroom NonDoc reports Paxton won the top spot in the Senate by 1 vote. He ran internally against David Bullard of Durant, whose voting and rhetorical record is more in line with social conservatives in the State House. Paxton will have to run in a Senate-wide election for leadership in January. However, a spokesperson for the chamber says the same results are expected. Paxton can now begin setting up the legislative agenda for the next year's session and begin making committee appointments soon. Those decisions will ultimately decide what will be voted on and approved on the floor, where the GOP continues to enjoy a supermajority. I'm Lionel Ramos.
Historical markers are now on display in a park in Edmond. 5 interpretive panels at Stevenson Park provide details about Edmond's history. Each sign includes photographs and information about buildings and landmarks visible within the park. City leaders say the park was established in 1892, making it the oldest original park in Edmond. You'll find more news at our website, kgou.org. We also invite you to follow the KGOU PM News Brief podcast.
No matter what happens in Washington, the NPR Politics Podcast is here for you. For the latest news, insights, and analysis from the election and beyond, listen to the NPR Politics Podcast.